have budget for costumes or tape or props or whatever, so they just improvised everything. And I got hooked because it was very freeing. Like Laura, I like the story, the longer stories, before finally getting to 2000, around 2016. Then I started with Third World Improv. I was part of the first class in Third World Improv to go through the process. And that's when I learned that, hey, whatever we were doing in college then was actually a thing. So there.
Cool. Awesome. Great. And Siddharth, how about you?
Um, so I think it was early last year when I was, just looking for over the weekend what's a nice thing to do, and I found this interesting Improv Comedy Bangalore 101 happening. That's like a 2 hour sort of dip your toes into improv sort of a thingy. And it was so I went up there and I didn't know what to expect, because I had, I wanted to do something in theater and performance, and this looked like something like that, so I just went. And then it was the 101 was being facilitated by Lakshmi Priya. And I had a fab time there for 2 hours, and then I got hooked. So what I did after that is just attended Improv Comedy Bangalore's jams, just to get a feel of it. Then I was actually unbelievably scared that people could come on stage and do this stuff. But after attending a couple of jams, I just signed up for one and say that sort of thought that let's see what happens, and gradually built up, and here I am after close to 2 years.
Great, fantastic. And I advertise that you guys are students, which is such a lie. But I don't know about you all. I'm going to forever be a student of improv. But you guys all take a class together. Does anybody want to share anything about your class?
Yeah.
Oh
I,
yes.
oh, yes, Siddharth then. Oh yes, you can go, Siddharth.
Okay. I might add in the beginning, it's with the fabulous Mandy Butler, and we're having a super time with that. So what we're doing is basically we are learning about improv scene work, and what are the nuances of the scene work, and when we go on stage, initially what do we do, and how do we develop the scene? Um, and it's been happening since the past 6 weeks, and this coming Saturday we have our graduation showcase
Yeah,
right on the same page.
yeah, at the same time. So whatever time you're watching right now, because everyone's in different places, it's at the exact same time right now on Saturday. So definitely
Yeah,
check it out. There's some great people in your class in addition to you guys as well. Was that
yeah.
the first time you guys had met?
Uh, Yeah, yes, for me, in regards to meeting
Yeah.
Jay and Siddharth, I think. I mean, there's been loads of one-day electives that a lot of us have been on for other places, so there's possibility, but I think, yeah, it was the first time. And the interesting thing for myself is I did the 6-week scene work with Mandy first. So Mandy, but not first, I'm not claiming her, but we did a 6-week course, and then she put this 6-week course on again as an advanced, and it was, so some of the group are the same from that original 6, and some are different, and Jay and Siddharth are different, and it's been great to see them come in straight away with this group, and we've all like melded together so well as a kind of a troupe, which has been nice.
Great, fantastic. Yeah, Mandy is fantastic. I think we talked about her on our last show. If you haven't met Mandy Butler, it is an experience. That's what I'll say. And I'm working to get her on this show. I'm working to do a medical improv show. So we have a couple folks that are in the medical world, or help with medical improv training and stuff like that. So thought that would be a cool one to do. So fingers crossed, we'll have Mandy, and you guys can all see who she is in a couple of weeks. Good. So my next question for you guys is, what kind of improv player are you? Like, what type of improv player are you? If you were to kind of say, this is me as an improviser, what type of player are you? It's a thinking question. I see your
So I
brain.
think Laura is a mutant zombie. That's just with the so we are with this, we're taking part in that extreme short form game championship, and she was a part of the team, and she defeated us, and I don't know how, but
Oh, you
So
guys
bitter.
competed. I did not know.
He's so
Yeah,
bitter.
Laura, one of the folks that I coach, Micah's on your team as well.
Yes,
So,
she is. Yeah.
yeah, if you're not watching the Extreme Improv, it's got more words championships. Watch it. I
Yeah.
just shared a link to it before this show on the Queen City Comedy page, so you can find it easily. So definitely check it out. Great players from all over the world. So other than a champion, Laura, what kind of player are you?
I've only gone through to the quarterfinals. We're not champions yet, but there's still time. It's quite interesting. So people have told me that as an improviser, I'm kind of a mind reader, and this can be a bad thing, but like a planner. So because I do a lot of narrative shows where hopefully by the end of it makes sense, I'm the person that might stay on the back line for a little bit to try and figure out, okay, with what everyone's doing, how will this connect so it makes sense to the audience? Because I love movies. There's over 3,000 DVDs behind me right now, so I really enjoy movies and the movie genre. Improv, love doing those. So people have called me a mind reader in the past, which has been an annoyance to some but a blessing to others, because it's only this year that I've managed to kind of enjoy, as I said, short form, where you just have to sit back and enjoy it. I think because in my normal non-improv life, I have to be very organized and very, conservative with a small c, not politically, just the way that you behave around others. Yeah, improv is so good to just like let loose and do what you want to do. So I'm going to say mind reader as an overarching one.
Good, awesome. Who else? Jay, how about you?
If you're going to use Katie Schutz's definitions of who you are in the team, I'm the carer. I will be the B character of all B characters. I will be your best friend. I will never be the lead, but I will make sure that I will make you look good. So just like Laura in a long form, I'll be the one of the last people to come in and kind of find a way to tie everything together. So narrative improv is really something that I love, and genre improv, but I try to balance that with a lot of uh, theater sports type gamey improv. So I've been on the extreme. I've been to a lot of matinees on the extreme page. It's just that because of the time zone. It's just because of the time zone. But I'm the carer of the group.
Oh, fantastic. Siddharth, how about you? What kind of improviser are you?
Laura wanted to say something. Laura?
Oh, I was just going to add to Jay's, like Jay linking stuff together as I do. I'll be the one that initiates the scene and kind of drops the bomb at the start and see what everyone does with it, while Jay is definitely and let me help pick up those pieces and help everyone else. Yeah.
There you go. Laura drops the bomb, drops the mic, and walks away and lets you all fix it. There you go. I love it.
I'll come in with the broom.
And Jay swoops up behind her. All right, great. Siddharth, where do you fit into that puzzle?
So I think I'm similar to what Jay described in terms of sort of taking a step back and trying to figure things out and then come in. I'm not necessarily I don't necessarily need to initiate or go first because there are many people, at least whom I've been jamming with, who do that. So it's a matter of how do you add to the scene after that. So I'm much more comfortable with that. But having said that, and I discussed this with Ari as well, it's basically trying to build these improv muscles. So I'm trying to figure how to initiate scenes and how to do the strong scene starts and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think I don't know about you guys, but I've really evolved as a player. I think I was having a conversation with somebody recently. I can't remember. And I was talking about like my first 7 years of improv, like all I cared about was making people laugh. I could have cared less about my scene partners or the integrity of the scene. Like I was a horrible, horrible improviser. And I'm trying to be a much better improviser now. And I think one of the things for me that's changed as an improviser is I'm really trying to just go in with very little and just build a scene from within with the scene partner and the connection and all of that. And so it's a very different way because I used to have to be in control. Like I used to have to be like, I have this idea and I'm going to initiate this and I don't care if it's any good or if you want to do it. So I apologize to all the people who did improv with me for 7+ years. So yeah, good. Have you guys felt like you've evolved as an improviser? Have you changed at all?
Oh, definitely. Even my playing style at the start of the pandemic and up to now has changed so much. And of my those who have been in scenes with me will realize that uh, at the start of my professional improv career, I was always angry, and then as you grow older, I guess you mellow out, and then it becomes wider and wider. That's why when I took the class with Mandy, and when Mandy said that, why are you always mad? And I just went, yes, yes, that was me. That was me before.
I can't even
So yeah.
imagine you angry. That just blows my mind. I've done many scenes with you, and I've never seen that side of you. So, good. Who else? How else have you changed or evolved through improv?
I'll go next. For me, I think I've always had the mentality, without knowing what improv was. I've always had the mentality that life is improv. Like from the moment you wake up, you're basically making it and faking it, until like there's no script in life. But control again has been something that I always needed at the start when I started in improv. I don't find stuff funny that everyone seems to find funny. I've got quite dark, twisted humor, but you're never going to see that generally in improv unless you're going to particular genres or you're with the type of troupe that have the same mindset. So I never used to find other people funny. So I was never trying to find the funny, but I was trying to control the scenes, I think. So now I'm a lot more, as Jay said, like mellow, relax, just have fun. I auditioned for a show once and didn't get it. And the feedback was, you're a really good improviser, but you just need to have a bit more fun with it, and just let it go, enjoy the moment. So I've taken that on board. But I think Jay, mentioned 2020 being the year of growth in improv, and that's definitely been the case for me, because this digital world has allowed me to play with so many people around the world, that you get to just see people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different ways of viewing things. And I think that's been the most essential thing for me in regards to growing this year, because previously you were just in your one theatre doing shows with the same type of people, the same type of culture. And yeah, I've definitely grown from other people's experiences this year.
Starth, how about you?
Here in Bangalore, so I've been just involved in the past like 2 years. And in general, in India, the scene with improv is I think it's very sort of nascent, because the improv comedy Bangalore itself is just 5 years old. But having said that, so initially, at least what we were doing was totally short form based stuff. And obviously, Nasir and Bala and all those people were putting on their own shows with the musical improv and all that stuff. But mostly sort of short form based stuff is what we were doing. But when this pandemic started, the fact about narrative improv and all that started sort of, I got interested in that. And with the 10-minute scenes, I got an exposure of that as well. So even in my mindset, maybe not while doing improv as such, because I still need to learn those skill sets, but in terms of my awareness and my mindset of moving from short form to long form, that's already there.
Yeah, agree. Good. Yeah, I feel like 2020 has been like the chance for everyone to get like their master's degree in improv, because we can study with like all these incredible instructors all over the world and play with incredible players all over the world. That it's the only good thing maybe that's come out of the pandemic. I don't know, but for me, I look at it as a good thing. So, so what has improv taught you in life? If someone said, "What has improv taught you?" How would you answer that question?
I'd say even though it's already a lesson out there and other things, but don't judge a book by its cover. And the reason I say that, when I think about not necessarily the virtual world, but when I was in my theatre, it seemed to be really like introverted people that would come to improv, and then when they were on the stage, they were completely different. And so if I had crossed the street or seen those people in a different environment where they're introverted and quite quiet, I would never have thought that they would be some of the best improvisers I've ever seen on stage. And so yeah, improv has shown me that anyone can do this. Like anyone can do improv, and yeah, not to judge a book by its cover.
Good lesson.
Sorry,
Fantastic.
I'm moving because I've got 5 cats and they're all trying to get into the Zoom, so I'm just kind of pushing them back. So sorry if you see me moving around.
If the cats jump in, the cats jump in. So
don't give them the fame, Carla. Don't give them the fame.
They'll take it from there. They'll be doing their own theme. Cat from Laura. Good. Jay, Siddharth, how about you? What has improv taught you?
I'll go next.
Yeah.
Improv taught me a lot of things in life. I was one of those introverted people. which is funny because I'm a teacher by profession, and you're on stage almost every day, but people don't realize that there are highly functional introverted people, and when I go home, I just retreat to my corner and weighted blanket and everything. So that. But for improv, you it taught me to take the risk. It taught me to take the risk and know people beyond just the name and other things, and actually form real relationships that are even in this virtual setting. You can make real relationships work, or actually talk with people. And it was always a nagging question at the back of my mind: what if they don't like me? What if they don't like me? But now, who cares? I mean, if they don't like me, they don't like me. I can't please everyone. And that's, I think, the biggest thing that improv taught me, is that you can't please everyone.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. So in my case, what I totally believe with improv is, so if you're passionate about improv and if you want to improve as an improviser, basically what you'll end up doing is, because it's so closely related to life, you'll end up being a better person as well. Um, so in terms of, listen to your partner, or be in the present, or be authentic. And so when you're doing that for improv, and then it translates to your life, you just becoming a better person. So I see a lot of parallels that happen with this improv. But the most and similar to what Jay said, I actually I hate parties or such stuff. I hardly go to any, unless and it's with my very close friends. But here I am doing these 10 minutes and being live and being okay with it. So it's a different thing.
Can I just add to what was being said about the making those authentic connections and knowing people better? I think that is one of the greatest things I found about being in the improv community, is you can build really authentic, great relationships with other human beings and still not know what they do for a living in regards to their day job. Like, you just learn about the human being and what they're like, rather than worrying about the labels that we give each other in normal society, which I find amazing in regards to improv.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of, anyone want to share what their day job is? What do we do when we're not improvising? Or you can be like, nope, don't want to talk about it. That's fine too.
I think I mentioned this already, but I am a high school teacher, and I teach physics and disaster readiness, which is an actual subject in my country.
That is like the coolest thing. I'm so glad you shared that. For the first time you said it, I was just blown away by just the fact that your country just invests in, being prepared for whatever, whereas my country just reacts sometimes. So it's really exciting to see that. Anyone else want to share what they do in their day jobs?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Sorry, Siddharth, you can go, because I feel like I'm talking a lot. We're very polite in this group. We're very polite.
Yeah. So yeah, I am actually a mechanical engineer, and I work for a company that manufactures aircraft engines. I don't want to say their name.
That's okay.
That's what I do.
Cool. Awesome. All right. And Lara?
I'm an occupational psychologist through education and finished my master's, but I use that in my normal day-to-day job, which is my job title is a communication and development manager, which basically means I manage teams of people that train new staff in finance company and deal with all communications. So I'm a manager basically by trade of 17 people.
I do think it's always very interesting to find out what improvisers do in their day jobs, because sometimes you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And sometimes you're like, wow, I would have never thought. So some people use improv definitely as an escape from their regular everyday world. So, well, we have a couple questions from some people online. So I will jump into that and see if you guys can answer. So the first one is from Scott Rawson, and he says, do you see Zoom improv continuing after we can all play in front of live audiences again? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it has to. Because one, the connections we've made around the world will not we won't be able to continue them if we don't continue Zoom Prov, as it were. But I think there'll be a nice balance, a mix, where we'll do theatres and do online, because I think improv shows have reached more people that would never have gone to watch a show, and they're now watching them on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook and all other platforms that are out there.
Good.
That's what I think.
And
Awesome.
just to add to what Laura said, I am foreseeing the fact that because training can come from different countries and enrich the local setting, then Zoom Prov will happen. And I'm foreseeing. I'm using my crystal ball, and that there might be times that we will have hybrid performances wherein you have someone physically present with you, and then the other improviser is actually like in London, and then performing in a show together in front of an actual live audience and a virtual audience. So
That'd be cool.
That sounds
That would be good.
amazing. Yeah.
So in my case, I wanted to continue for the reasons that are mentioned. I'm sure that it's going to reduce. It's going to reduce a lot uh, because we've been staying indoors. I don't know, since like eternity, basically. So it's going to reduce a lot. But I wanted to continue, and if it doesn't, I'm just going to dial up or connect to people and do my 10-minute scenes. That's it. And
Yeah,
that's
right.
what I'm going to do.
If institutionally it doesn't continue, right? Individually.
Yeah, then we just do it
Well,
individually. Absolutely.
make those connections and stuff. Yeah, and it's interesting how adaptable improvisers are with improv and performance. And there's a lot of people that don't love the improv on Zoom, and a lot of people that have obviously really embraced it. And I think that to Jay's point, we're going to see a bunch of different kinds of shows afterwards. So one of the groups I play on now are the Foxes. We just I should say I did not. Some of the gentlemen who I play with just were in a theater doing an improv show, and it was recorded. So they were together, no audience, and then recorded and streamed out. So again, I think there'll be different ways that improv is happening. But I think online has been such a blessing for me. So I hope it continues. And I personally think it's going to be like its own form, right? We have short form, we have long form, and I think online improv or Zoom prov or whatever we call it, virtual prov will kind of be its own art form. And I think there's some great theaters out there that are just doing amazing things, like the Hideout, where they've like embraced the technology completely. And so there's so much good stuff out there. So those of you watching, shout out good places that are doing good shows. I know Improv Chattanooga is doing some great stuff. So there's quite a bit out there as well. So thank you, Scott, for your question. I hope we answered it. I'm going to move to the lovely Lakshmi, who has asked a question. This is just for Siddharth. No one else can answer. Sorry, I'm just kidding. Feel free to jump in. How does being a community builder change how you do improv?
She asks the toughest questions. For me, it's something very natural. To belong to a shared goal, like a community. And what it makes me feel is once I do that and I get to know the people, it makes me much more comfortable while interacting with them and, letting go of my inhibitions and being more authentic. And that is sort of reflected from when I started during the start of the pandemic to now. I've been able to see that within me, that I'm able to let go of stuff, be more authentic and not be in my head so much so, because at least I've chatted with the people or I've met them somewhere or some sort of things like that have happened. So yeah, in the community. Thanks, Lakshmi, for that.
Anyone else want to jump in? I think a lot of us are on this call are kind of community builders for sure, internationally, online, or just in your own respective community. So how does that change how you do improv?
I was quite I didn't fully understand the question at the start, but now I kind of do. So I for a year here in Bristol actually was a company director for improv community which had about 110 people in it, and the interesting thing is if you're going to do that job where you're managing the community, you can't perform as well. So that's quite an interesting thing where I feel if you're building a community, you have to have a balance of looking after that community from the outside and being those eyes keeping an eye, and when you're inside performing, I personally felt that I couldn't enjoy it as much because I was worried about the impact it could have to others, not my performance, but just, you know, looking after others. So I kind of feel sometimes you have to stand on the sidelines and watch to make sure everyone else is enjoying themselves from an improv community perspective.
Jay, how about you? Any thoughts?
For me, because the Manila improv community will be composed of people coming from the first school, Third World Improv. So most people there know each other. I'm just one person in that community, so I'm not the community builder in that sense. However, because of my love for improv, I started the first improv club in a high school improv club in the school that I'm teaching in, and unless somebody contests it, it will go down in history as that. And because I'm taking care of high school students who might have this as their first entry to improv, then I become more of the B player rather than I made a New Year's resolution that in improv I try to be more of the first person to come in or to be the person to initiate the scene. Nope, didn't happen. Became more of the B player, became more supportive, became the bigger person. And then people ask me, "What about this style? What about this style?" So then you become a wider mind or a bigger head in the good sense that you have to understand, oh, there are many different styles of improv and every style is valid. All disciplines are accepted here. And then you just have to like balance people, especially in the small high school community that I'm trying to put together or trying to continue there.
So, follow up to that, Lakshmi asked you, Jay, what is the biggest challenge of teaching improv to kids?
Making them understand that failing is part of it. Uh, uh, it was a very difficult lesson to learn as well. And to add to my previous answer or to the answer previous several questions back, that's the biggest thing that you learn from improv. And if you're a student, the way that school brings you to a point that I have to not fail, I have to do this well every time. You forget that learning comes from failing, and failing helps learning propel itself forward so well. So teaching the students not to say sorry or to say sorry correctly are two things that come with failing, and teaching them accountability for their actions comes from failing. So that's to answer the question, the biggest challenge is to teach the students how to fall properly or how to fail properly, or to how to accept that failure as the next great stepping stone to greatness.
Yeah. I have the pleasure of also teaching youth improv. So I teach ages like 9 and up. And so it's just I think one of the most amazing things about teaching, so the flip side is that their ability to take notes and correct is so much greater than adults sometimes, because there isn't the ego as much, which is sometimes depends, like most kids will go with that, and so there's just hunger and this passion for it that is just it makes my day. There are days I go in to teach and I physically am teaching kids right now, like in person. And I'm like, oh, I have to go out in this mess and oh, I don't want to do this. And then I walk into the classroom and they're just so elated and so excited and so inspired by improv. It's like the only good thing in their lives right now. And so just the joy, the pure joy that they have, for me is always like the learning for me is find that joy. And so every day, when I walk in, they just do something weird and wonderful and amazing. And it's like, this is why I get to do this. This is why I'm learning from them every day. And I think it's the cool thing about improv is it is okay to fail. And where else in life does someone say, you're going to get better if you mess up? I'm sorry, that doesn't happen in the real world. In our day jobs, you get fired. So it's really kind of an awesome lesson, I think, to teach kids and adults and young adults as well. So very, very cool. Anyone else teach improv? Do Siddharth, Laura, either of you guys teach improv at all or thinking about teaching?
I use improv in my normal day-to-day work. So I do leadership development for kind of middle management, and I use the one word at a time, once upon a time, tell a story one more time, to teach them the benefit of listening to their teammates and the people that they manage. So I've incorporated some improv games into the leadership courses that I deliver. And at the start, I'll always go, so we're going to do a bit of improv, and they go, no. And then we do it, and they see the lessons they learned from it, such as, accountability, trusting your partner, and listening to what's being said and being present in the moment helps them so much better when they're having difficult conversations, such as firing people or, just the conversations you have to have with other adults. So I don't teach it and haven't thought of teaching it, but I do use it in the real world.
Yeah, I think there's so much applicability with improv in the real world. So I think that's you're seeing more and more of it in business. Businesses using it for training and development, which is amazing. So Darth, how about you? Any teaching or want of teaching?
No, I've not taught because I still am sort of learning myself. But I did, with the courses with Katie and Chris Mead in the improv place, attend their teaching thing. And I believe, at least in India, there is a very huge untapped market, especially for youth, as what Jay is doing, wherein it can be actually of real great help to them, to improve their lives. So I'm surely thinking along those lines, but it's some time away for sure.
Well, the nice thing about kids is they don't know what you don't know, so you can jump in and teach them at any point. I think that's a great path, and I hope that you do. I feel like you will mold many minds, Siddharth. So I hope it's definitely something you do. Well, speaking of teachers, that's my next question for you guys: is who are some teachers that have really left a mark on you in your improv world? I know we've already dropped a couple of names, and I'll try to go into the comments after this and put some links to some of those people and some of their classes as well. But who are some people that have really kind of left a mark on you?
When you ask this question on the Queen City comedy page, I think I placed 20 names off the top of my head. And this is not exaggerating, but I'm learning so much from interacting with a lot of people. And it reinforces the idea that there are so many different ways to improvise that if somebody claims that this is the only way to do it, I twitch a little because of people's because of the sheer wealth of the collective of talent that you have, especially now that's accessible through the internet. Um, yeah, I mean, I, I will write them down so that I don't forget anyone. You can ask someone else first.
Jay's like, my mind is blown. I can't think of every name.
It is quite. I was gonna say it's quite funny because our hesitation isn't because we can't think of anyone. It is just because there's so many.
Mm-hmm.
And as we already said, Mandy Butler is definitely a good one. For me, there's some key ones. There's two ladies in Bristol, Caitlin Campbell and Imogen Palmer, who created their own improv company called the Delight Collective. But both of those, they were the first two females I ever saw do improv well and invite other women into the community. So they will always hold a place in my heart. Mark Beltzman, don't know if you're aware of him, but he's an American, I think he's a tubist, but he's done stuff with the old style improvisers back in the day. And I'll put a link in, but he came to do a workshop in Bristol, and he's can be considered a crass American. But I really loved his like honesty of like, you have to love each other. He was doing relationship building. It's like, you've got to love each other, not hate each other. And he's very straight to the point. And I realized that actually sometimes you need to just be honest and straight to the point with people, which I know Mandy is as well. She'll tell people when they're bad improvisers, which was said in your previous chat when you had Roxy on, I believe. And then Jules Munns from the nursery. I love his way of teaching, because if you ask him a question like, can you do this, can you do that, his answer is just like, yeah, of course you can, don't ask me, like, it's improv, just if you want to do it that way, do it that way. There's no definite answer with him, which I kind of like, while other improvisers would probably be very frustrated because you need to know the rules. But for him there are no rules, which I like.
Great, awesome.
Yeah, so in my case, so basically, when we were before the pandemic in Bangalore, from the last early 2019, we used to just have teachers or improvisers who used to visit us like physically for a workshop or something. So my first workshop after the 101 was with Jonathan Pitts, who was actually doing a course with Queen City. He's doing a workshop there as well. So that was probably the best sort of a workshop to start off with, because it was just so much information coming my way in just those 3 hours or 4 hours of stuff. So mostly I've been interacting with people for just that workshop sessions. So Jonathan Pitts is going to be the first one. Second one was Gail Dunwet, if I'm pronouncing it properly. And he came to Bangalore, and I attended a workshop of his. It was about sounds and silence and all that stuff. And I just saw him perform, and I was sort of blown away by what stuff could be done on stage, because I had not seen that at all. So him, and my first I'm going to rattle out names, but anyway. So my first, the artistic director, the former artistic director of Bangalore, Improv Comedy Bangalore, Nasir. So I did a 10-week, course with him. And that gave me all the fundamentals and nuances that I was able to. So once I did that course, then I thought of the scenes, and I was like, oh yeah, this is what it is. So many things just fell into place. So all of them, and Mandy Butler.
It's so funny. Mandy's like this unknown gem. And I think that until you're in a classroom with her, you just don't see the brilliance, because it's kind of funny. I say she has this quiet brilliance, but she's not a quiet person. So she is just a Southern girl. But I think that there's some brilliance in her that if you have a chance, everyone watching, take a class with Mandy. That would be my recommendation. Jay, did you come up with anyone, or are you just going to go list them all in the comments?
Okay. Well, off the top of my head, I have to shout out the wonderful improvisers of Manila. Of course, you have Gay Mercado, Ding Dong Rosales, Aaron Cristobal. But then your world just explodes when you meet Helena Jang of Korea and Kim Tan of Singapore. And then you meet Jill Bernard and Amy Lewinsky, and then you meet people like, again, Carla and Mandy, and 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 a special shout out to Greg Tavares of Theater 99, because he teaches micro techniques that when you know that feeling when you're almost at your head or in your head already, and then you remember there's this technique, and then you beat everything. So he teaches the join wonderfully. And then God, there's so many people. Katie
Right,
Schultz,
if you forget, you can put them in the comments.
yeah, I will put them in the
So,
I will put them in the
So, I
yeah.
just want to make one more point here is, See, apart from people who are formally teaching us, so one thing I definitely like, which I wanted to mention, is Carla your drop-ins. I just love them, and I've been sort of attending so many of them. But apart from that, in terms of a broader teaching, I get to learn so much by just watching people. Jay, John Newton, Ari, so many of them. Just watching their scenes or just talking with them, just chatting with them, and just learning so much. So it's not just the formal training that's the teaching that's going on. It's just interacting with people and just getting to know more as well.
Yeah, you definitely, even learning from your scene partners as well, I think is
Absolutely.
great as well. And I'm very lucky, that's the word I'm going to use, that I've been able to spend time in pandemic taking classes from all sorts of wonderful people. So one of the things with Queen City Comedy is I don't bring in an instructor that I haven't worked with before, because first of all, there's so many incredible instructors out there. I don't mean to say that less, but these are people that I'm bringing in and that Kale is bringing in that have inspired us and that have left a mark on us. And that's a mark I want to share with people. So I will continue to educate myself all over the world. And these names that you're dropping, I'm like ready to write them all down, because I'm like, oh, I haven't taken a class with that person. And oh, I haven't taken, and Greg Tavares is in the state next to me and I haven't taken a class with him. So I need to jump in there and do that as well. So
Brilliant.
I love this.
Yeah. Oh, just to add, uh, it's funny because in my improv journey, there are times of trouble, and there are times where like you go like, okay, I'm getting confused," and there are people who just come in like Mandy, who clarifies what you have had in the past. One person Siddharth mentioned was Jonathan Pitts. He teaches this seminar called Nine Ways Up the Mountain, and it's just brilliant because then you get to realize that, oh, that's why they're doing this, or that's why they're doing this, and then you realize that at the end of it all, everything is just one big beautiful scenery. Yeah. And
That sounds so much. I haven't taken that class from Jonathan, but that sounds exactly like Jonathan. Jonathan, who did an improv walkabout around the world to play in different countries before the rest of us did it on Zoom. He's fantastic. So, not to plug our workshops, but there is one coming up with Jonathan. So definitely.
Yes, yes.
Also, one with Lakshmi. See, look at that. See these fantastic people that you guys are mentioning. You can jump in to classes with them. So I have one last like improv question for you guys. Is what is some advice you would give to your younger improv self just starting out? I feel like I just keep breaking Jay's mind as we go.
Mine would be, just because they've been doing it for so long doesn't mean they're good at it.
Oh, that's
yeah, because I had a lot of there used to be a group of people that would come in and they'd be known as like that crowd. They'd always be like last minute to the show, but always manage to find seats to watch. And they'd been doing improv for a very long time. I think they'd done it in university and whatnot. And everyone just looked up to them. But then after you find your own way and you see other people, you're like, nah, they're not good. Like they're just doing the same thing over and over again. And certain people find that funny, but they didn't grow. And so I would say you don't look up to those just because they've been doing it longer.
that's some good advice. Awesome. Who else? Anyone else?
I'll go, Jay. Yeah. Okay. Jay is thinking because he's like.
You can actually see the thinking happening. You can see it happening right there.
Yeah. What I would definitely, one advice I would have, one thing I would definitely tell is that I should have started it earlier. But apart from that, the advice would be to not be in your head so much, and it's okay to fail, because that is probably this, when you're starting off, that might be the one thing that could turn you away from improv. The fear of failure. So luckily I had the folks in ICB Bangalore, ICB are superb. So I had a good set of people around me whom I could look up to and, navigate that phase. But I think that's what I'm going to be telling myself.
Jay, did you figure it out? Is your brain still
Yes.
working? All right.
Yes. One thing that I would say to my younger self is that, you know how they say that if you're not having fun, then you're the one at fault. That's not true, because you have to define what fun is for you, and then you have to take care of yourself, because um that happened to me a lot. People tell me, what, why are you not fun? It's your fault. You're not having fun. But just as what Laura said, maybe these things are there because you're seeing already that you're playing in a different way, and you're growing in a different direction, and you're starting to like things that aren't usual. So that's something that I would tell my younger self. Uh, do what makes you feel happy.
I think that's a great lesson for everyone, right? I think if
Yeah,
improv's not making
absolutely.
you happy, I think David Escobedo says this all the time. If improv's not making you happy, find a way for it to, or take a step back from it, and then maybe you can come back to it. So, well, good. So I always like to end these. I say always. I've done this one time before with some silly questions, just so we can get to know you guys better. I need to know some of your favorite things in life. So the first one I'm going to ask is, what is your favorite food? I always think this is a fun one.
For me, it depends on what day of the week it is. But on a Friday, it's stuffed crust pizza.
So I'm actually surprised that I was included in a group in Facebook called Improvisers for Food, because I'm so bland in my choices. I just like whatever is, like given to me. So basically, my favorite dish is what we have for breakfast in Southern India. It's like a dosa and idlis. And I'm just okay with that. Yeah. Or anything vegetarian that you give me, I'll eat all of them.
Okay.
Mine is anything edible. I
Very
should have
specific.
like a wheel of fortune type thing on my phone. What do I want to eat today? Okay, I'll eat that. I'll eat practically everything.
It's good to know. All right, good. Do you have a favorite movie? A favorite movie?
I have
Okay, go ahead,
two.
go
I
ahead.
feel like I'm going first all the time. It feels like we're just doing a round. I'll go first. Thanks. Two movies. My favorite movie of all time is called La Haine, which is the hatred in French. And it's based on three guys going around Paris after a riot. That's my favorite movie. But the movie I've seen 100 times, have seen in 7 different languages, and know all the words off by heart, is Anchorman, and that's because it's the first movie that my husband and I went to see on our very first date, and we've been together 16 years now. So that is my ultimate favorite movie.
Awesome. Good. Who else?
Movie. For me, I have two favorite movies. One of them is Filipino, and it's called Four Sisters and a Wedding. I cry at the same point in the movie every time. So I've seen the movie forceful. I don't want to watch the movie, but it's always played in a bus when I'm going home. So I cry at the same time, at the
Patients
same
on a
point.
bus crying all day
Yes, I
long.
will just like that one. And my favorite English movie would be another Coco. Weirdly so, Coco. It's an animated movie. And again, it makes me cry at the same time. So at the same point. So, ugh.
I love that animated movies have the ability to do that to us, but they get us so fast. It's crazy. Siddharth, how about you?
So I'm not a huge movie watcher, but one of my favorite movies, which I probably watch every time in English, is Saving Private Ryan. I just love Tom Hanks movies. I just love him as an actor, but this specific movie because, um, because of the fact that he was doing something. I mean, within the movie as a character, he was doing something. Um, I mean, going saying saving somebody else just because somebody in their family died or all the people died, and not worrying about his own family, and that somewhere it just struck me, and the way he portrays it, well, I just love Tom Hanks. Other,
Tom Hanks is a treasure. I tell you, he
oh man,
definitely is.
super, super. Yeah.
Good. So I have a couple more. Your favorite game or board game, either of those, whichever. It can be video, it can be outdoorsy game, whatever you want. Favorite game. Jay's
Okay,
going
I'll go
first.
first.
Yeah.
Okay, Jay's going first. Let him. Yeah, please.
Just because I also started the first board game club in the Philippines for high school. So my favorite game right now is Among Us. It's like werewolf but with space people, and Coup. COUP, Coup is one of my favorites. Of course, the ubiquitous Love Letter is there too. But I like gateway games. I don't like very long games. So short games. Otherwise, you'll put me to sleep.
I'll tell Mandy it wasn't just her class; it's board games too. So, Siddharth, how about you?
Yes, so I was discussing this with Ari, and definitely not chess, because I thought I was good at chess, and I got like beaten back in blue from my cousins all the way. So it's not going to be chess, but otherwise anything. So we play cards. So the best time that I have in a group is when we play cards and probably have a strong cup of tea and something to munch and just gossiping around. So probably that.
Awesome. My whole university days was cards, so I totally am there for you with that.
I'm not good at that, but I like to play it. That's
I'm not good either. Not good either. Laura, how about you?
Linking to what Siddharth said, I like to play poker, and only if there's money involved, because what's the point if there's not any risk? But I'm not very good at it, so I don't win any money. And I also like computer games. So I like a lot of things, but like my favorite computer game is Burnout Paradise, because you can just get to drive around in a car, blow it up if you need to, and listen to it. It has a really good soundtrack. So I love playing that just over and over again.
Good. We got some love for some of your games in the chat and some love for Coco. Coco is a fantastic movie. Favorite musical artist or band? Anyone have a favorite musical artist or band?
I do.
Okay.
I'll go, because I can see the other guys thinking, so I'm like, oh, I can go first this time. Change it up. My favorite ultimate group is Salt and Pepper. That's my favorite ultimate. My mum gave me the cassettes when I was young, and I just grew up listening to that. And plus other musicians, but those are they are my favorite.
Awesome.
They're not current, but they're my favorite.
They'll always be current. It's good. It's good.
For me, any band that does a cover in a different way, I like them. Like Postmodern Jukebox or the Birds and the Bees. All of these artists who play old music in a new way or in a new genre. But if you're going to ask me to buy a record for something, Henry Mancini, the orchestra, the classics, those ones, and Johnny Mathis. Yes,
Oh,
that voice just gets to you.
So in my case, I love I love most of the music, but specifically Indian classical music. In fact, I'm learning it as well. So I learned the tabla, which is like a percussion instrument. So I hear a lot of solo concerts of probably one of the most famous tabla players, Zakir Hussain, who's actually in the US. But apart from that, in terms of the music and the band, Indian films have a lot of music. So anything from a musical director called A.R. Rahman just blows my mind. And in terms of English music, most of the rock bands.
Jay mentioned like spending money. Like recently, I feel like I only spend money on records that are like Broadway musicals. So that's what I've turned into. That's where I started. I started in musical theater, but I'm sort of going full circle now. My last favorite question is, what is your favorite guilty pleasure? Your favorite guilty pleasure? Oh, now they're all thinking. I'll share mine. Bubble baths. Like that is my thing, man. That's my.
I'm a hot and cold person, so it's either a hot massage or a cold tub of ice cream.
Or both at the same time. That sounds like even a better guilty pleasure.
Which is difficult because if you get your back straight,
just laying upside down.
Yeah, but that one.
Awesome. Great. I think we stumped
Do you have one?
Did we stump
Oh, she's thinking now. So okay.
I am.
Yeah. So for me, it's basically eating many of these Indian sweets. I just love that. I'm keeping a one-arm distance from them for obvious reasons. But yeah, many of the Indian sweets, I always had a sweet tooth right from when I was young, and that continues.
All right, Laura, did we find one?
So I'm struggling because technically guilty pleasure is that one that you kind of like want to hide from people, but like I've never regretted anything in my life and I just kind of enjoy things as they happen because life's too short. So what I do, I don't know. Like so what I do that people might frown upon but people also enjoy is just I like people watching. So sitting in a cafe, haven't done that since February of this year, but sitting in a cafe at the window and watching people go past, I really enjoy doing that, and just people watching and kind of making up my own little stories about what they're doing or where they're going.
Oh, you're better than me. I like to be in the cafe eavesdropping. That's what I like to do.
No, yeah.
Well, awesome. So we're almost out of time. So I would love, first of all, let me plug, first of all, these three lovely folks will be performing this Saturday right here on the Queen City Comedy page. You'll get to meet the fabulous Mandy Butler if you all haven't. But what else can we plug? What else do you want to share that you guys are working on, or a community that you love? This is your chance to share anything that you would like.
Oh, we're being polite again. Go, Siddharth. Go. You go first.
Okay. So we started this off probably last month or 1.5 months before. It's a Facebook group from the Improv Comedy Bangalore. So basically, all our friends whom we have found over the past 6 months are probably there in the group. A lot of very, very good improvisers and even better human beings, I would say. So if you have the time and you want to be on social media, that might be a good group to be a part of. Improv Comedy Bangalore community.
Thumbs up. That's fantastic community. Very welcoming. Very they take care of each other. I'll go with that. So who else wants to share or plug something?
I'll go. Jay's doing the polite. Let's see if Laura talks. So I'll go. So Improv Chattanooga, who I'm their first international member. There are more international members now, but I was the first. I like to hold that crown. Every Friday they do shows, which is 1 a.m. British time and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've just finished a month-long horror improvised soap opera, which was fun. So we're currently working on whatever new format we might do this month. And also the Extreme Improv Team Championships are happening every day this week. They start at 7 p.m. UK time, which would be 2 p.m. Eastern time. And then wherever else you live in the world, I can't do all the mathematical calculations of where everyone is. But there's a great website that can do it for you.
Yeah, it's now my new friend. Yeah, absolutely. Stephen Disbro, Improv Chattanooga, fantastic. Dave P, I can't say his last name.
Kostansky.
Fantastic at welcoming folks from all over. So definitely follow them. And if you're interested in playing with them, they're both very, very welcoming as well. Jay, how about you?
Well, please follow the Third World Improv page. That's for the Manila stuff that's happening. You can also go to the Manila Improv Scene page. But for me personally, because I'm not in the extreme thing, but I am plugging that also. And I'm also plugging the Improv Comedy Bangalore page. Whatever I'm in right now, you can find it at my Facebook page at J Villanueva or at Bald Guy Art Space.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you guys for your time today. It's like past bedtime for Jay. It's bedtime for Siddharth. And Laura's ready to have a hot toddy. I don't know. Is that even what people do in England? I have
but we still need to wait about 35 minutes before we can have a hot toddy, but we can have those.
I can stall if you'd like. No. I just want to say thank you all for your time. Thank you for agreeing to do this little show that we're just trying to figure out what it's about. And I just wanted to provide a space for people to get to know everyone better. And Lakshmi, I think, summed it up the best. It's the cutest to get to know y'all. She even used a little Southern term. So thanks from Lakshmi and thanks from me. And we'll be doing this again. We have one in a couple of weeks. We'll have an all-female panel. And then I have a second one coming up after that, which will be an all actors panel talking about how improv works for actors. And then I'm working on getting a medical panel together. So again, meeting people that improv affects in different ways in different pieces of life. today we had these fabulous international players who happen to know each other from a class, but are fantastic in their own right. So thank you guys for your time. You
Thank
can
you. Thanks,
wait,
Carla.
and I'm gonna end this live recording.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll see you guys later. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
All right, I think we're officially. Nope. Are we still
On
live?
Facebook.
Live. Just keep waving. I think
Hey, hey,
yeah,
hey.
all right, now we're done. I know it's always like that weird moment. So
Little buffer.
thank you guys so much. Hopefully you guys had fun. This was fun for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, real
definitely.
fun. Absolutely.